Okay, so 20 years ago, living in San Francisco, in my 20s, super fun city to be in. My girlfriend said, hey, we're joining a gym together. So I said, okay. It happened to be kind of a fancier gym than I'm used to. But yeah, it was definitely a gym for beautiful people. It had these showers that were peekaboo showers, where if you were to jump in the shower, people on the outside could see a silhouette of you showering, which was pretty wild. So one of the perks with the gym comes free memberships with one of Crunch Fitness's personal trainers. I didn't really want to do the session, but I figured, okay, it's free, we'll see what happens. I show up and I meet my personal trainer. He's very nice, he's very funny, he seems professional and also fit, which is a good thing. Definitely within the first 20 minutes, I was like, oh, I am exhausted and I don't feel great. I start getting lightheaded and I think, okay, where can I do this? Knowing that I'm about to throw up, and sure enough, I threw up. In the middle of the gym, in a garbage can, and I come back over to him and he smiles and he says, hey, you earned your wings. You did it. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to push you to the limit. And he definitely pushed me to the limit. Okay, so what's crazy is a couple years later, I'm driving in San Francisco and I'm at a stoplight and I see this homeless guy, which isn't unusual in San Francisco. I lock eyes with him and I was like, whoa, I know this guy. He's my personal trainer from Crunch Fitness. It was hard to put together, like, how did this happen? How did this guy go from working at this great gym and now he's on the street? I'm a cameraman at NBC and I'm an editor. In fact, I'm actually editing this actual series you're watching right now. So I'm scrolling through the video and I lock eyes with the man on the screen and my mind is blown. I'm positive that this guy we're doing a story on was my personal trainer and who was the same guy that I saw homeless on the street 20 years ago. And that guy is James Durgan.
James Durgan has been locked up here at the San Francisco County Jail for more than 200 days. We spent weeks asking him for an interview. He said no.
Hi, James.
But then he changed his mind.
Never thought I would ever be in a situation where I would be talking to reporters while I'm inside of jail, so.
And here you are.
Yep. I'm like a wuss when it comes to crime. When I got out of that jail, I really felt like I had done my time, basically. I felt like I'd served a purpose. And so to be arrested again was really difficult for me.
James just got word a judge has granted his release, once again, if he agrees to enter a drug treatment program. So he'll be free as soon as a spot opens up.
So emotionally, I'm here and there and all over the place. It's a pretty difficult situation to be so misunderstood.
James grew up in the well-to-do town of Duxbury, Massachusetts. The local newspaper there was the Duxbury Clipper. And back in May of 1986, there was an article written about a student play debuting at James's high school. That production, Eddie Was Here, told the story of a young teen who died of an overdose of drugs and alcohol. In the show, that boy craved popularity and pleaded for help, but never could overcome his addiction. The paper called it a powerful play, in part because of the lead actor and the depth of his portrayal. So, who was he? Back then, he went by Jimmy Durgan.
I know a lot of things have been said about you, but how would you describe James Durgan?
Well, that's a really difficult question to answer. I'll say it this way. I've learned some things about myself that I don't know how to explain.
James went on to mention a lot of his life story, and much of what he told us checks out, like his degree from St. Anselm College in New Hampshire.
Liberal studies in the great books.
There was also his stint as a teacher at that college prep boarding school near Palo Alto.
screenwriting and creative writing.
And his time as a fitness instructor in San Francisco.
In 2003, I was a personal trainer at Coach Fitness.
Remember, his workout was so intense, it made our editor throw up at the gym. But there was something else James mentioned that caught our attention. Something he says was his proudest achievement. James told us he volunteered at the maternity ward of San Francisco General Hospital.
I feel like it's the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I feel like it's the greatest thing I'll ever do, to walk in off the streets and have them hand you a newborn baby. And all you do is stand for an hour with a newborn child in your arms.
So you would actually volunteer and hold newborn babies?
Oh, heck yeah. This is way before all this stuff. So it does probably seem a little out of context, but I'm basically the same person.
Could you understand how there are some people who might hear that and frankly think that's unbelievable?
Yeah, I suppose.
James said he volunteered there more than 20 years ago. We checked with the hospital. Their volunteer records don't go that far back. But 2 longtime employees there don't remember having a male volunteer.
My mom, when I was a kid, she said to me, I want you to always rely on the exact nature of your own experience. And I think that what she meant was don't let someone else's idea of you guide your own belief about yourself. And so I'm in a situation right now where there's a lot of talk about me, a lot of talk about like what kind of person I am. I'm not that guy, basically. I'm not that guy, so.
How does a well-liked and well-read guy from Massachusetts end up in jail here in San Francisco?
I don't understand what it is to be guilty of this stuff. I don't. I mean, I'm not a hurtful person. I'm not a harmful person. I know I'm going to be somewhere in the future looking back on this knowing like, wow, that was all just someone else's story for me.
Before you got here, where were you living?
In a sleeping bag.
How long have you been homeless?
In 2008, I think the decision I made was back in 2008. Yeah. Yep.
So we're talking about well over a decade.
Yeah. It's not a bad life.
It's not a bad life.
It's not a bad life.
While living on the streets, James shared much of his journey on social media. And many of his posts sounded like pleas for help. "I think I'm running out of time," he wrote in one message. "What does it mean to have the worst kind of pain ever?" he asked in another. And his friends seemed genuinely concerned.
What's going on, Jimmy?
Please, my brother, tell us how to help.
Over the years, his posts became darker and more desperate. "I'm sleeping right now at the beach, totally headed for 18 straight hours of drug abuse."
What drew you to the Presidio?
Baker Beach. Well, I grew up on a beach in my hometown, so I'm very familiar with being close to the water. I just like being there.
It makes you feel like you're back home.
Yeah. Yep.
Who is Anne Ray?
Uh-oh.
Why do you say that?
What is your name again?
Begad.
Okay, as you edit this story, right, I think what we should do is just give Miss Ray credit for being unapologetic about her concerns.
I just wanted to say something.
I am convinced that if Miss Ray and I had a chance to talk, go for a walk on the beach, have some tea, that we would not be in this situation at all. I'm sure we could be best friends. I'm sure we could be.
You think you could be best friends with Anne?
Oh, I could be best friends with anyone. Yeah.
She's convinced you're obsessed with her.
Obsessed? And obsessed is sort of a strong word to use.
How would you describe your relationship with Anne?
How would I describe my relationship with Anne? Well, I don't have one with her. I've never spoken to her. I've never actually even met her.
Do you remember showing up to her house naked one night?
Do I remember that? Gosh, what do I say? Do I remember? Let me try this. I showed up without clothes on because my friend recommended to me that I just show how sorry I was about things and that it would at least display a vulnerability. And I'm not ashamed of being vulnerable. I knocked on the door and stood there and I just thought to myself, gosh, like, what is she going to say if she opens the door right now? Like, and what am I going to say? And so I was like, you know what? And I took off running.
You showing up naked at her door was your way of somehow apologizing to her?
Yeah. It's not my nature to harm people. It's not my nature to harm.
Did you ever use chalk to write a message outside her house?
Chalk. Messages, chalk. I write messages, chalk. Gosh. Hello? Hi. Have you ever written chalk? Oh, I did. No, it wasn't for her, though. I said I wrote hearts. I wrote hearts.
Who was it for?
Me.
So the I love you message wasn't for Anne.
It could have been. It wasn't. I mean, if she wants to receive it that way, but it was basically like I had chalk because I love the chalks. I wrote I heart you. I mean, you've seen that before, right? I heart you. I didn't write I heart you, Anne.
People have called you aggressive, menacing, unpredictable. Is that you?
Aggressive, menacing, and unpredictable. No.
Do you think you're capable of hurting someone?
Oh my gosh, no. No.
You're about to be released.
Yeah, I'll be housed in a drug treatment center. Drug treatment.
What drugs have you used?
Marijuana, cocaine, magic mushrooms, LSD, crack, methamphetamine, DMT, Suboxone, and K, which is they call it spice, and then there is another one. There's a number of them.
How long would you say you've been an addict?
Oh gosh, for years, since I can remember.
How does it feel to know you'll be released soon?
Well, I've been through it so many times.
Law enforcement sources told us he's had about 60 arrests, but James himself says it's been more than double that.
Over 140 times.
140?
140 times. That's like for you to know.
Between court expenses and hospital visits, someone who is chronically homeless costs taxpayers an average of $35,000 per year. James has been homeless for at least 14 years. That's nearly $500,000. Criminal records we obtained show at least 40 different public defenders have represented James in court, sparring with at least 43 prosecutors in the DA's office. His run-ins with the law span years, even dating back to when the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, was San Francisco's district attorney. For James Durgan, the wheels of justice have been more like a revolving door.
Sometimes it's funny, I get more nervous about getting released than I do about staying in jail.
Why is that?
Sometimes I think I'm involved in something in which people want to hurt me so badly that they'd rather just keep me in jail.
Do you feel like you're a victim in all this?
No. People try to convince me that like things are going really horribly wrong for me. I don't see it that way.
You have 1 minute remaining.
We have one more
We have
minute.
1 more minute. Okay. Do you think you'll wind up back in jail?
I don't think so.
All this season, we've been searching for answers on how to go about saving San Francisco. But maybe another question we should be asking is, what would it look like to save James Durgan? Think about how many lives he's impacted. The people who fear him and those who love him. The pain he's caused and the pain he's suffered. His cost to the city and the price he's already paid. And James is just one of more than 8,000 homeless in San Francisco, all with their own unique stories and needs. So how do you fix a broken city? Maybe the real answer is one person at a time.
Even a monster, real or perceived, has a history, has a background.
They're human beings, and it's tragic.
You cannot be a healthy individual if you don't have a place to live.
We need to fix the affordable housing crisis in this country.
I think it's possible for us to have a city where there are no people sleeping on the streets here.
All of the beauty that is San Francisco is being blurred by this lawless environment that we're living in right now. This is my home. Why should I leave? Why should I be fearful?
I grew up here, and there are times that I am frustrated, that I am disappointed, but I still love this city. We know this is a beautiful city, and we know what's possible.
There is a chance here in this city, man, because this is the city, man. This is San Francisco. There is a chance. There's still that gleam of light.
I'm Begat Shaban, and for all of us here at NBC Bay Area, thanks for watching. We'll see you next season with more stories of saving San Francisco.